Hash the wrong car. The rain hammered against the cracked pavement of downtown Seattle, turning the evening streets into mirrors of neon light. Sarah Mitchell stood beneath the flickering awning of a closed coffee shop, her 5-year-old daughter Emma pressed close against her side. The little girl clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, its fur matted from years of love and countless washes. Sarah checked her phone for the third time in as many minutes. The Uber app showed a black SUV circling 2 blocks away. She pulled her thin jacket tighter, wishing she'd grabbed something warmer that morning. But warm coats cost money, and money was something Sarah never seemed to have enough of. "Mommy, I'm cold," Emma whispered, her breath forming small clouds in the damp air. "I know, sweetheart. Our ride will be here soon." Sarah kissed the top of her daughter's head, breathing in the sweet scent of the cheap strawberry shampoo she'd bought at the dollar store. The job interview had run late, much later than Sarah had expected. She'd left Emma with Mrs. Chen, their elderly neighbor who charged almost nothing for babysitting because she understood what it meant to struggle. But even Mrs. Chen's kindness had limits, and Sarah had promised to be back by 6. It was nearly 7 now. A sleek black Range Rover pulled up to the curb, its headlights cutting through the rain like twin searchlights. Sarah glanced at her phone. The license plate matched. She grabbed Emma's hand and hurried toward the vehicle. The driver's side door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, dressed in an expensive charcoal suit that probably cost more than Sarah's monthly rent. His dark hair was slightly damp from the rain, and there was something about the way he carried himself, confident, purposeful, that seemed out of place for an Uber driver. But Sarah was too tired and too worried about getting Emma home to think much about it. "Thank goodness," she breathed, opening the back door and helping Emma climb inside. "I'm so sorry we're running late. The interview went longer than I thought." The man paused, his hand still on the driver's door. He looked at Sarah with striking blue eyes that held a flicker of confusion. Then he glanced at the little girl settling into the backseat, hugging her stuffed rabbit close. "An interview?" he asked, his voice deep and measured. "Yes, for an administrative assistant position at Morrison Tech." Sarah slid in beside Emma, grateful to be out of the rain. I know, you probably don't want to hear about my day. I'm just so relieved you're here. Mrs. Chen has been watching Emma since noon, and I hate to take advantage." The man stood in the rain for a moment longer, water streaming down his face. Then, slowly, he closed his door and walked around to the back of the vehicle. He climbed into the driver's seat, adjusting the rearview mirror until his eyes met Sarah's in the reflection. "Morrison Tech," he repeated quietly. "What did you think of the place?" Sarah laughed, a tired sound that held more stress than humor. "Honestly, it was intimidating. Everything was so polished and professional. The woman who interviewed me seemed nice enough, but I'm not sure I made a great impression. Emma's school called in the middle of it, she forgot her lunch, and I had to explain why I couldn't leave to bring it to her." In the rearview mirror, she saw the man's expression soften. "I'm sure you did better than you think," he said. He started the engine, and the vehicle filled with warm air. Emma sighed contentedly, already half asleep against her mother's shoulder. "You're very kind," Sarah murmured. "Most drivers don't really want to chat. I appreciate you listening." They drove in comfortable silence for a while, the city lights blurring past the windows. Sarah found herself studying the driver in the mirror. There was something familiar about him, though she couldn't place what. Maybe she'd seen him around the neighborhood, or perhaps he just had one of those faces. "Can I ask you something?" the man said suddenly. "Of course. Why Morrison Tech? Why that company specifically?" Sarah considered the question. "The benefits," she admitted. "They offer healthcare, which Emma and I desperately need. And the salary would mean we could finally move out of our studio apartment into something with an actual bedroom for her. Maybe even save a little for her future." She paused, then added softly, "I want to give her better than what I had. Better than what we have now." The man nodded slowly. "That's a good reason." They turned onto Sarah's street, a modest neighborhood where the buildings leaned slightly and the streetlights buzzed with electrical problems no one bothered to fix. Sarah felt a familiar flush of embarrassment as they pulled up to her building, with its peeling paint and rusted fire escape. "This is it," she said, reaching for her door handle. "Thank you so much. You've been wonderful." "Wait," the man said. He turned in his seat to face her fully for the first time. "I need to tell you something." Sarah paused, Emma stirring sleepily in her arms. "I'm not your Uber driver," he said gently. "My name is James Morrison. I own Morrison Tech." The words took a moment to register. When they did, Sarah felt her face burn with humiliation. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought the car matched the license plate on my app, and I just assumed." "Please, don't apologize," James said quickly. "I was leaving the office when you and your daughter got in. I could have corrected you immediately, but..." He hesitated. "I wanted to hear what you'd say. How you'd talk about the interview when you didn't know who I was." Sarah's heart pounded. This was it. She'd blown her chance completely. She'd treated the CEO like a taxi service, complained about the interview, probably violated a dozen professional boundaries. "I understand if you don't want to hire me," she said quietly. "I would completely understand." James Morrison looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully against her mother's shoulder, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin. "Actually," he said, "I'd like to offer you the position. Starting Monday, if you're available. With a signing bonus to help with the move to that new apartment." Sarah stared at him, unable to speak. "You were honest tonight," James continued. "Honest about why you want the job, honest about your struggles, honest about your daughter being your priority. Those are exactly the qualities I want in my company." He smiled, a genuine warmth reaching his eyes. "Besides, anyone who would turn a CEO into an Uber driver and not even realize it clearly doesn't care about impressing the right people. You care about taking care of your daughter. That's much more impressive." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks before she could stop them. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." "I think I do," James said softly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "My direct number is on there. Call me tomorrow, and we'll work out all the details. And Sarah, your actual Uber driver is probably still circling around looking for you. Let me give you a real ride home." Sarah laughed through her tears, holding Emma close, feeling for the first time in years like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. Outside, the rain continued to fall on the city of Seattle, washing the streets clean, making everything look new again in the glow of 1,000 lights.